Hello, welcome to week 6 of the Great British Sewing Bee Unpicked. We're here to talk about episode 6. It's going to be a hard one. I've been up here and I've been down here. I've been the highest I've been and the lowest I've been ever on the
In
Sewing
one
Bee.
episode.
Oh, we'll talk about that later. But as always, we have a quick look at what happened last week with some comments. Your comments have been absolutely brilliant, Ting. These will make you laugh for sure. First one to kick us off, Elise. There is the Ting I know and love, chucking slippers with merry abandon. And all well deserved, I hasten to add, says Elise. Thank you, Elise. The series was going so well, and then we got the stupid tent challenge, which only would have made sense if they made something waterproof. Brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, that
Yeah.
would have been a thing, wouldn't it? Is to turn it into a waterproof jacket. At least it would have been a little bit more kind of in line with the
Yeah,
fabric.
we've always said about reduce, reuse, recycle, and you didn't disappoint with some of your comments, that's for sure. Then we had, what's that? A lie. Oh, I can't read the.
Ali lives well on
Oh,
less.
Ali.
That's
That's what I was looking at. Livers. I couldn't work it out. Ali, she says, I do love the ethos behind R&R Week. Having read Patrick's book, Less, I know it's from... Oh, I'm not doing well with reading today. Having read Patrick's book, Less... Is it just called Less? Less I
yes.
know. Oh, I don't know. I know it's from his influence that's become a whole week. However, I do think that in the recycle part, the things they make with the tent fabric, like or windbreaks, or TK. Oh yeah.
Taekwondo.
You
Do
think
you
I would
want
have?
these?
That's made me proper laugh. Will never actually be used or worn. It defeats the purpose. The whole point is to extend the life of fabric, not end its use. That said, I do love the bee and will have to content myself with throwing a flip-flop at it. Brilliant. Now, Ting, if you remember rightly, we talked about what type of festival, because they were assuming we're going to music dance festivals. Well, we had many a question and an answer coming back. Karen of Wigan says, if you want an outfit for a festival, any festival, I'd have made an outfit for a festival of quilts. Brilliant idea.
Well done, Karen. Yeah, well done.
Patchworking it all together and cutting it up
Yeah.
and whatnot. And this one, Ting, might be for you. My festival of choice would be a beer festival. And I could just imagine the comments if I turned up in a reimagined tent. What a pack of saftness. Thank you for your comments. I really enjoy your take on the bee. Thank you, Glenda, for getting in contact and sending us that. Then we have something which is close to our hearts. Amber, Hannah says, I've been inspired by Amber's headbands and the idea of reusing old garments, and I'm making a turban-style headband for myself out of my daughter's old leggings. I'm using almost all of the fabric, without the holes, and even the elastic will be used.
Brilliant.
Get in. High 10 to you, Hannah.
That's what that should be about, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
Not and she's actually wearing them, not something that gets tossed in the bin at the end of the show.
Absolutely. And right, let's get rid of that one. And then this one popped up too, which is going to be...
Oh,
I know, exactly.
I haven't kept up with these. I normally
well,
check at the weekend and then don't really look Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
yeah. It's even more bittersweet to see that, Dan.
Yeah.
Lovely,
Oh no.
lovely to have you watching. We'll talk about that at the end because I went through several
right.
tissues. Right. Who have we got left as we go into week 6? So we lost Jess last week, and there are our 7. So we've got week 6 today, and next week, week 7, and then we're down to our quarterfinals with 4 left, and then our final with 3. So it's amazing how quick it's going now. But 7 very, very skilled sewers there in front of us. It's It can go anywhere. Any of those technically could be in the final. Any sort of those, any three of them, and I remember saying last week I'd be happy.
Well, one of them won't be. We know that.
True. But there we are. So we go into week 6, Kids Week. I think you were already gearing yourself up. It's like the same as R&R week, isn't it? You're not a lover
Well,
of Kids Week, are you?
and it's not because I don't like kids. I'm a teacher after all. But I just also, yeah, no, the kids stuff. I know that obviously this has been running for a while now, but there's even less kid stuff you can do when they won't repeat doing things like making a shirt or something like that for an adult. Yeah, every year it's a fancy dress costume. Every year it's a, the child stuff's been repeated over and over again, and to me that also. There was people there last night who said they'd never sewn for a child, and people like Orla and Kit who are young and have no children, why would they be sewing for it? And I suppose there's an argument you could say it's a great leveler because again, you've got that. Although Gaynor said she makes stuff all the time for her grandchildren, but I don't see the attraction in it really.
Me too. And I get frustrated because they seem to think because you're making for a kid, there's less to sew, so we'll reduce the time. I was so angry at this episode because they did exactly that. They reduced the time, and therefore the quality of the makes went through the window. Because just because they're kids, they're still sewing a seam. It's just 10 centimeters shorter or something. But that doesn't mean you save half an hour, do you?
No, it's worse because it is smaller. Because you've got tiny turning and everything to do. And okay, you're not sewing a seam that's as long as it would be if it was an adult, but it's the fiddliness because everything is smaller. It's not the same garment, just with the same size hem and everything like that.
So viewers, watch out. I think there could well be a few slippers being chucked, or ones by me if I'm allowed that on the total.
I was going to say, it might be more you this week by the sounds of it.
Right, let's go straight on to the pattern challenge then. The pattern challenge was to make an adaptive, make a pair of adaptive dungarees. Now, this was completely new to me, and a special judge came out. That was a surprise. Didn't see that coming. And how good was she, Ting?
Oh, absolutely.
Loved her.
But this is the sort of thing that actually, I know we were just moaning about it a couple of minutes ago, but this is the sort of thing where it was nice to see something different, and it had a purpose, with these being for a very specific, type of person who would need this adaptive clothing. And I think that just added a bit more to it. And it did, although people may have made dungarees, whether that's for an adult or for a child, it did make it a slightly different make because you had those adaptations with the elastic and the poppers and so on. Yeah. So I think, although we're giving this week a hard time, actually the first challenge I actually thought was quite good.
Absolutely. So, and we have been seeing the producers' praises for the whole of this series, haven't we, really? They have.
Well, apart from last week.
It seems to have changed. They've reflected, looked. Well, that's what we think, but it's clearly coming across like that. And then we have something wonderful like this. I know we've seen things through models, inclusivity and diversity and everything. This was an inspired round and a great idea for the judge. So there we are. There's the adaptive dungarees. They had to make these, and it was quite clear that they had to be fun and comfortable. So choose the fabric wisely. It was a focus on the elastic there. So I want to show you that because that we knew that was going to be a discussion point, probably in the assessment criteria for the judges. And then the placket, just like you got on your shirt sleeve, it's there on the leg with the poppers. Now, you can see that example there. They've chosen the same, try to get the same colour, but it's a different fabric for sure, but it is almost the same colour. So that one, they wanted quite discreet. Go on, Ting.
Can I make a point here? Because when they were talking about these for the other thing, I thought, especially when they referred to the people who'd done it wrong, if you look at the picture here, which is supposed to be the model's one, We
Yeah.
can see that on where his thumb is, we can see that that's a slightly darker shade of blue,
It's a
and
different
it's
fabric.
underneath the
Yeah.
fabric there. I thought that they had to have that blue placket on the top
I
of
know.
this one over here.
On his other hand, this one. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the one on
Oh,
the left,
yeah.
which it's not.
Oh, my pen's not
So,
working. Oh.
oh dear. Well, there we go.
Oh.
So, but the one on the left, I presume the placket is underneath to strengthen the fabric. But they seem to do in the judging that the placket should be on the top, unless I
Absolutely.
misinterpreted
Yeah,
that
well, look at
completely.
this. Oh no, that's can we
No,
see that
that's
was the
just done up.
outside one. Um that was
That was the one.
cat
So
that
they
was
said that
Kaz's
was
that
the
was
wrong
wrong.
way round
Yeah.
because it was on the inside.
Yeah. But actually when you look at that sample,
That would appear to be on the inside. So I don't know.
I'm just
Because
trying
there's
to
not that pale blue fabric there. That is the main fabric you can see on the left hand. Yeah, there. Yeah, pen's back.
yeah, there you go. Yes, this blue fabric should have been there, shouldn't
Well, I
it?
thought it should have been,
Yeah.
but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the comments will go wild this week as well. But to me, I thought that they said that that had to be on there. So when it was pulled apart, you could see that placket. But I mean, on the one hand, it makes sense that it's not because you can see that fabric there. But I just felt that they commented on those plackets on other people's. So I don't quite know whether they knew what they were doing then when they were doing the judging.
That's a very good point. I've only just noticed that now on the close up because there's Kaz's. So you've got the pale blue there that was on the other example.
Yeah, which was on the right hand side,
Yeah,
where his right hand
there.
though is. But on the left, that is on
When
the
that
back of the fabric.
joins. So technically, Kaz should have had the normal fabric there.
Well, I don't know because the model one doesn't.
Oh no, hang on. No. I wonder what's on that side of the fabric.
Well, the normal fabric because she's put the
Oh
placket
yes,
on the wrong side.
yeah. So actually, Kaz would have been all right then, because
Well,
so
in theory,
here
looking at
we
that-
would have seen the giraffe. So it would have been pink on top of giraffe, wouldn't it?
That's what I thought they had to do, but
Yeah,
because of the way they were talking about the judging. But if you look at that models one,
blue on
the
top
blue
of
must be underneath that
yes,
on the
yeah,
left hand side.
yeah, yeah. Oh my word, blimey! We're already spotted something already.
Or I wasn't paying enough attention.
No, you're exactly right because that's the example from the picture. Yeah,
Yeah.
they needed to have picked. We needed to have seen the underside of this one.
Well, I don't think we need to see it. We know what's there. The placket is on the other side. The question is, were they supposed to sew the fabric on the top so we could see it or underneath? And when Kaz sewed hers underneath, they said that was wrong.
Wrong. Yeah. Yeah, so perhaps Kaz was right.
Oh,
Yeah.
We'll have a look at the other pictures, see what the others have done.
Well, I'm just looking at my pictures. I don't think I've got a close up of their plackets
Oh, right.
apart.
I might have to go back and watch it.
I know.
I've only clocked it when you put that picture up because you don't see it very
No.
quickly. You know, they don't linger, do they, when you're watching the show?
Well, there we are. That's the finished makes. Now, they had a whopping 4 hours for this. Now, some of the previous challenges, they've had 4 hours for the adults, and then for design icons, they only had 3.5s, and that was a wrap
been
dress.
moaning about them not having enough time. Well, 4 hours was plenty of time.
Well, it was for this one, but I'm meaning the made to measure. That was the one I was furious about.
Okay.
But there we are.
Well, you've got to think about these were lined, weren't they? Or
Yes.
not the whole thing, but the top was lined with a contrasting fabric, and you had to get the poppers and the plackets on. It wasn't just a straight sewn leg down, was it?
No.
So, you know, there is an argument that those adaptations, they had to obviously be given a bit of time to do that.
Any standout for you there, or did you just think, yeah, they're nice makes, really, other than the odd bit on the elastic? Were there any ones there that caught your eye? And we'll have a look at.
I think they were all kind of fine. I mean, it comes down to fabric choice in some respects. You know, I think that fabric there works very well for I think they all worked reasonably
Yeah.
well for a child. I don't think there was anything. I am unfortunately old enough to get the reference to Saved by the Bell that she made about this one.
Yeah.
I think Orla had no idea what she was talking about.
Yeah.
But it was those fun things, and the fact that she chose the striped fabric on the inside, that
Yeah.
it just adds that
And
contrast. So
and
I think it gave them a
look at
chance to
that.
choose their styling as well.
How the print fabric and then the elastic. I mean, that's just beautiful, isn't it? The pale blue
Yeah,
on the print going into the pale blue of the elastic. That's great. Kits. We've got gainers.
yeah.
We've
I
got
think all the fabric choices were
yeah.
really quite good. I don't think, and I felt sorry because there was two or three of them that got the width. I mean, Dan
Yes.
was one of them, the width
Yeah. There you
wrong,
go.
and part of me wanted to go, well, surely you knew what was in front of you, but then I don't know. I suppose it's cutting out pattern pieces, and
Yeah.
again, when you're up against it time wise, it is kind of like you would unpick it or you would make some new ones. But if you've sewn it all together and then you realise it's wrong, at what point do you go, do I unpick or do I just put up with it?
Yeah.
Because Dan is a good sewer. So there's no way he's done that because he doesn't know what he's doing.
No.
He's worked with those pattern pieces that he's obviously cut a little bit too big. And like we've said before, under any circumstance, other circumstances at home, you'd unpick it and you'd do it again.
Gaynor did the same though. There, you can see it on that bit there. It's the step that
again,
Patrick kept referring to.
Inspector Clouseau's out again. If you look, she's got a brass catch on hers, and his was silver. So maybe he just picked up the wrong size. Maybe he could have got a different size.
Yeah.
Look, here's a silver there. I don't know how much the standard size is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah.
those bronze ones look bigger.
Yeah. But they were judged on that placket and the elastic. Really, that was what sort of made them apart.
Yeah.
And so Kaz here was bottom because of placket gate, which might now have been started by us.
Either that, or I really should pay more attention when I was watching it.
No, I think you might be right. I'm sure. Because
I'm gonna have to watch again when we're finished. I'm gonna have to watch the first 5 minutes again.
And Dan there in 6. So Kaz bottom, Dan 6, and then the other end we've got Yasmin second, and we've got Kit first. Now, looking back at my page of notes, we can now see that Kit has now only missed the pattern challenge once. And that was when Kaz won it in week 3. Week 1, week 2, week 4, week 5, week 6. I think that might be a record now. Might have to go through the whole stats.
I would have thought so. I don't think I've ever
of someone winning.
Talked about someone doing something like that. I think we would have remembered if that was the case.
So that is quite phenomenal there. That's the pattern challenge. Transformation challenge then. Whew. Well, we go from seeing some stunning sewing to it was.
I mean,
we've just
all
gone...
of it was shocking.
What was this the worst ever pattern challenge ever for makes?
Transformation challenge.
Oh, sorry, transformation challenge.
I think so. I mean, everything.
It's odd. I don't know what it was. Is it because everything was so small that their imagination?
Well, it wasn't small, was it? It was maternity wear. But again, if you're not used to making stuff for kids, it's taking something that's quite big and then shrinking it down.
Okay. So for viewers that weren't watching, that just like tuning into us, let me explain, because I went straight into there because I couldn't get over how different it was. They were given maternity wear and they had to make turn it into play clothes for a toddler, and there was emphasis on it's got to be enjoyable for them to wear when playing. So they've got to just really like it. I mean, that's hard to even do. I don't know even what I would do, because you've not only got to make children's wear, but it's got to be enjoyable for them to wear.
But that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, if you said to me, "Oh, you need some play clothes," to me, that's something akin to like a pair of pajamas that
Yeah.
doesn't matter if you get
Get
paint over it,
dirty.
or has
Yeah.
got enough movement in the legs so you can be running around in
Yeah.
it. Not something that, it's either fancy dress or it's not.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, bless you.
Oh dear.
That's got you
And
riled up. Yeah.
but that was the thing, and Orla, whose dress is on the end there, and the one who actually took
Yeah.
the crown on this one, it is just a simple little dress,
Yeah.
which is what you'd want to be in if you were playing it. You wouldn't want anything too
Yeah.
complicated. You're either in dress up, you're either dressing up as something, or you're playing
Well,
and you just need freedom of movement. It just needed to not be restricted.
as Dan was going for, if you're dressing up because you want to be a singer, then you want to be like Dolly Parton on stage and in some cool outfit, don't you?
But then the argument is that it wasn't a fancy dress.
I know, but it's that.
He went too far with the fringing. Kaz went too far with the arm seams, and Kit turned his into a car wash brush.
You feel for them and the brief. That's the brief not being pinpointed enough.
Well, but then I felt for Stuart because I thought that was fine. It was kind of like a smock, and okay, you could argue that the trousers, the shorts could have been a bit shorter, but it didn't look out of place. It doesn't look out of place. And then they had to go at him because his zip wasn't inserted properly. Well, I'm sorry, he had 90 minutes in which he had to design the outfit and sew it together and put the zip in. So we've already said it before in the past. None of these are going on and going home and being worn by anyone. You're supposed to be getting a feel for the concept, the pattern, the silhouette. The construction, yes, is something, but you could argue that Kaz's she used a contrasting thread. So you saw all of the lilac thread on that dark purple.
Yeah.
Well, that looked rubbish. But that's not because Kaz is a rubbish sewer. It's because she did it in 90 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like Stuart is just getting overlooked. And I know there have been quite a few comments as well, agreeing with what we said last week, that he's come up with this.
He's overlooked enough not to be sent home, that's fine.
True. But I feel like that was a kid playing, when they're putting paint on their fingers, they're at the art table. That's because you don't want Gaynor's bits dangling in your paint, do you? That she's...
I don't want anyone's bits dangling in my paint.
I just felt that the brief, what they were set against what the judging was being judged on, because it obviously differed from model to model, and they weren't differing it from model to model.
Well, but I thought Gaynor's was quite good because it was like a light jersey top and pattern, almost like pajama-esque type stuff. If your kid was running around in the garden, coming in, Grandma, look at this, I'd want her to be able to move around and have that on. I wouldn't, I just felt that, again, they're being asked to do one thing, but they're being judged on something different.
Absolutely. And then Kit with his flaps, well, less said about that, the better.
Well, as I said, it looked like a car wash brush, didn't it? It's like you could get the kid to stand outside and wash cars for £5 a turn. Just get them to spin round and round next to the car, and it'd sort it out.
This is what's amazing, because it's only 90 minutes. I wonder what is going through any of their heads when they're creating. This
week it was, how can I create the most ridiculous outfit ever?
But they admitted several times, some of the sewers, didn't they, that they didn't know.
Isn't that the problem? If you've then got 4 or 5 of this 7 going, oh, actually, this is the worst thing I've ever sewn, or this is ridiculous, I know I haven't got this right, well, then the challenge wasn't set properly, was it?
Absolutely. It is exactly that. And that's the first time, really, we've had it this series, and that's when it's even more noticeable in the next challenge, which we'll go to now. So, Kaz is now bottom again, 7th, and my heart is going because we've had.
Oh, that's because you're very good at the Stuart curse, aren't you?
No, and Stuart is 6th. And at the other end of the scale, we've got Orla first with her stroke giraffe. And Yasmin again. Okay, so...
Yasmin's another one.
Yeah.
Like Stuart, she's being overlooked a bit. and not in a bad way because she's a brilliant sewer, but her and Stuart are just not getting the same amount of screen time as some of the others. And sometimes the cynic in me is that's like, well, that's fine because they're going to be in it to the end. So we get a lot more screen time overall.
Later. Yeah, absolutely. It's how editors think, isn't it? For sure. Okay, so then we go into the made to measure, which is where I just lost it completely with the worst made to measure in my head that I've seen for a long while. And it's not because of the sewers, it is because of the brief and the time.
Oh, and it's Kids Week again, isn't it? It's just, it was another fancy dress costume. We've had fancy dress every year on here. I mean, if you were going on the sewing bee, then you want to sit down and just make yourself a fancy dress costume at some point as practice, because this is where the complete lack of imagination comes in.
But why? And all right, let's go through the brief and then we'll talk about it. So they've been told to make a bespoke garment for 9-year-olds. Okay, so not too small a garment, but still small enough, to make a fancy dress costume, but with what you wanted to be when you were young. Now, I kind of like that because I thought we can get some personal story. So I wasn't too put off by that. But where I then got infuriated was they gave them 3.5 hours. Now, where is the logic in that? A made to measure, 3.5 hours. You give them 4 hours to make a pair of dungarees, 3.5 hours just because they think it's a 9-year-old. And you know it's wrong because you look at all the end results, because they are phenomenal sewers. Look at what they were making on episode 1 of this series. Yeah. And then look at what was coming out. We were getting unfinished garments and we were getting just nowhere near as good as what they have been doing. So it's not the sewers, is it? You can't ask them to do a bespoke garment in 3.5 hours, can you?
Well, I mean, based on last night, with some people apparently you can. But yeah, it does seem ridiculous that you give them 4 hours to make a pair of dungarees and then only 3.5 hours to do a made to measure. Because ultimately, that's the name of the challenge. So it's not about saying, oh, can we just sew this together quickly? It's got to be sewn together quickly to fit a model.
And I felt that with another hour at least, they would have been stunning. Look at the stuff that we've had this season with 4 hours and 4.5 hours. And I just felt some of these missed the mark. And I also felt almost like the sewers felt it's just missed the mark. And they knew it just missed the mark.
But again, it comes down to, it's my favourite, isn't it? It's an inspired by round, because not everyone had to make the same thing. Yeah. And I know we don't always make the same thing, but like in the past where it's been, or even that Korea week, they all had to make something that was very similar.
Yes.
And there was a basic pattern they could find. So if everyone had to make something that was very similar, then you have a bit more of a level playing field to do the judgment on. Whereas I like the idea of saying, oh, you know, something that you want to be when you grow up. But someone wanted to be a ballerina and somebody wanted to be a circus ringmaster. And those are two completely different challenges, which we'll get into in a moment.
Yeah.
But, you know, so who's right, who's wrong for choosing what they want? Because on the one hand, you're like, well, that's what I wanted to be when I grew up.
Yeah.
But then should I have actually just said, well, I wanted to be the most simplest thing to make in a sewing bee competition rather than what I actually wanted to be?
Yeah. Yeah. Do you play the game? Do you play the game to just to get by? Well, should we look at, well, let's go through it in order. Should we alphabetical order, or should we go down that debate of simple versus you've tried too much?
Do whatever you like, because I will say what I want to say about which one.
Well, let's keep with what one of those reasons of disappointing me was that idea of we think that's too simple. Oh, you went for ambitious, and let's go for that debate, because it's well, if you wanted them all to do ambitious, then they should say on the brief, we all want you to do something that you want to be when you're young, but it's got to be an ambitious make.
But make it more prescriptive so that it has got to be, you know, a top and a bottom, or it's got to be trousers, or it's got to have 3 elements to it, or whatever.
Perfectly
put.
Yes. then it's not ambiguous at all, is it? So let's
No.
go with gainers first, because I thought it was beautiful, and again the story behind it, which was lovely to flesh out more of the sewer. Let's click on the button. Made to measures. I've got them all here, so we can look at them all. Where's
Or we could start with Kaz.
we can start with Kaz. Or it's in alphabetical order, so let's start with Kaz then. Yeah.
I thought this was brilliant. I thought that, it was brilliant in that it played into the brief properly.
Yeah.
Although I'm not sure that what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be Zandra Rhodes. And then basically you could make anything you wanted using, Larry fabric.
Yeah.
So again, that comes down to I'm not criticizing because everything she did was perfect. I love the way she got the child involved with the fabric. I love the fabric she chose. I love the sewing. I loved it all. I think absolutely deserved to be what it was. But if we go and take a step back and go, well, let's look at the brief. Well, is I Want to Be Zandra Rhodes enough of a brief to then say, well, that's it? Because everyone else was making bee costumes or ringmaster costumes or ballet costumes. So you kind of knew what you were looking at. Whereas this was just a smock and a pair of trousers. It was the fabric that made it
Zandra Rhodes. Well, I'm just trying to think of some of the images I've seen her in. She's often in big sort of flamboyant dresses anyway.
That's what I'm saying. It's just the fabric. It's not anything special.
No.
If that was all made out of white calico, that would look nothing. It would still look the same.
It
wouldn't scream Zandra Rhodes. It's the fabric that screams Zandra. You could have made anything, put it in a caftan,
yes,
with that fabric, and you could claim it's Zandra Rhodes.
But this is
the problem with an inspired by challenge.
Yeah.
That's I'm not having a go at Kaz.
No. I know you're not.
I love Kaz and I love the sewing.
Yeah.
But this is where the judging then becomes very difficult.
Yeah. We've also said about this that the contestants prepare for made to measure, don't they? They buy their fabric, if I'm right, or they source it, or they tell Love Productions.
Yeah.
You might want to chip in if I'm wrong here, but I thought they are responsible for that. So if you are going on to a program and you're inputting or submitting your made to measures, do you not choose your made to measures to suit you, to suit the whole challenge?
You absolutely do. You absolutely
to play the game.
That's what I'm saying about this challenge.
Yeah.
When it's an inspired by challenge, the only thing that makes that outfit Zandra Rhodes is the fabric. If that was made out of black or navy cotton,
it could have been. Yeah.
Well, your inspiration could have been Margaret Thatcher at that point.
Yeah.
But do you know what I mean? And this is not, like I said, it's not going against Kaz and everything because she's done exactly what she needed to do. But that's where then that becomes difficult to then say, right, well, this is Kaz. Let's now look at Orla's. Yeah. Let's now look at Yasmin's.
Oh, yeah, it's really hard. Yeah. Well, let's go down the alphabet then. ABC. Dan's next. He wanted to run away with the circus, which I can see Dan doing. Well, because look at what he does anyway. So you could really see that story there. And he wanted to do a lot. It's a lot there.
The problem we've got here is he told the truth. He wanted to be a ringmaster.
Yeah.
So then you get locked in that it's got to be a ringmaster's outfit. Whereas what he could have done is turn around and say, well, I want to run away with the circus. And he could have done a clown outfit, or he could have done a strongman outfit, which would have been simpler to sew. Because any of those would have fitted in with the story.
Just be a pair of Speedos, would it? The strongman, yeah.
No, I was thinking like the Victorian one where it's like the stripe.
Yes, the vest. Yeah.
Honestly, it was for children. They don't put the children out in a Speedo. But,
sorry,
that's where you could have just gone running away to the circus. You could have done anything.
Yeah.
And I get that he wanted to be a ringmaster and therefore he gets locked into this, which then locks you into how much work has to be done there. And then the question becomes, how ambitious should you be? Or how perfect should the sewing be? And this is a sewing competition. So while you've got to be ambitious, you've still got to be producing good sewing. And because he had so much to do here, that's where things have gone wrong. The collar's not right. I mean, the shirt didn't even have any sleeves on when I saw him doing that. I mean, it's all right looking in hindsight, But what I perhaps would have done to make it a bit easier is actually made the shirt and jacket as all one thing. So you just had a white front
Oh,
that was sewn into the
yes,
jacket.
like a
And then as
dummy.
you do the buttons
Yeah,
up the front, that would have just, you could have put it all in one. And then you
yeah,
wouldn't have had to worry too much about lining the
yeah,
inside of the jacket, just the tails. You wouldn't have had to worry about the sleeves. You could have done a double collar and just done it as like
yeah,
an all in one
yeah.
top and then a simple pair of black trousers. But again, when they're asked to come up with this, they said it's 3.5 hours? Because part of me wanted to say to Dan that was a big alarm bell for 3.5 hours, which is where you needed to perhaps look at the pattern and say, well, can we do this? Or do we just, like I say, you choose something else from the circuits?
I I have a horrible feeling that when the sewers are submitting their 10 ideas, they have no idea of the time limit. And
Mm,
I don't think so, no, because
I don't think they're that bad.
I think they're submitting them a long way in advance. Because don't forget, remember that ages ago when we spoke with, it was one of the J's, that year when we had
Okay,
Jen,
fine.
oh, I can't think of,
So we spoke to someone,
yeah.
and what did they say?
They had to submit their ideas, and she was saying that she had no idea that she would even get to like week 8, 9, or 10. So she just put anything all down, and then of course she did get to like week 8, and then it's like,
Right.
oh, I've now got to make this make to measure. Maybe that could have happened. Maybe you
Yeah, I
submit
mean,
these
yeah,
and
I
you
mean,
have
I
no
don't
clue
know.
where you're going to get to, or because you don't actually know which week it's going to be in either. But I don't think you would submit that if you knew it was 3.5 hours, would you?
Possibly not. Or otherwise, you just do. I mean, at the end of the day, if you were to go on to some well known online shopper and order a ringmaster outfit
Yeah.
for a fancy dress kids costume, it would not be sewn together to the highest.
No,
It would have
no.
been done to cut the corners and do that. And I know that's not what we're talking about here, but that's where you had to be a bit clever about what you wanted to achieve and how you could achieve that
Yeah.
quickly to get the overall look.
Well, your way is better than my way because I was thinking, why did he not do a T-shirt? But a T-shirt,
Well, there's that as well. Yeah.
you've still got to sew 1, 2, and the sleeves. But your sham idea is literally just that bit here, isn't it? To give that
Yeah.
illusion.
Yeah.
But you're right, 3.5 hours to do. Well, I've done a shirt, and that's taken me about 2 days before. Let alone, as Patrick did say, that whole tails outfit. That's a lot of work. But boy, to get that far in 3.5 hours, that's still impressive, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, it was only really the shirt.
Yeah.
And then, okay, the collar was curled a bit, but that's because it's the nature of the fabric he's using as well. But it wasn't, and apart from the shirt, which drew attention to the fact that it wasn't necessarily put together, it wasn't like there was massive holes in the
No,
arms and
no.
sleeves, and he did manage to line those tails and
And look at
everything.
the
So,
cool cuffs, the gold
yeah,
cuffs.
I just felt that there was a lot of work
Yeah.
there that had been done in those 3.5 hours that was credit worthy.
Yeah. Alphabetical order means gainers next, which is that discussion point that we're coming on to. So you've got, someone that's going for something that's really big, and then you've got someone's going for something that to them is a make, but can look quite simple.
But this again goes back to the inspired by. She wanted to be a ballet
Yeah.
dancer, so she's not broken the brief.
No.
And I got annoyed when Patrick stood there and went, "Oh, well, it's a very simple." Well, you didn't ask her to
Yeah.
do something complicated.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
also, with the greatest respect to Gaynor, she's the oldest person in the room, so you know. Back then, being a ballet dancer was probably what exactly. Again, she's followed the brief exactly what she
Absolutely.
wanted to do, and she had, that dress to compare it
Yeah.
to. So you can't take anything away. And equally, it was simple, but it was sewn
Yeah.
exquisitely. And it's a sewing show at the end of the day. And, we'll come back to this, I'm sure, when we discuss the very end. But that's what you end up having to ask yourself about when Who Goes Home. Is it a sewing show or is it a, entertainment
Yeah.
show? And at the end of the day, her sewing was so good and the fit was so good. How could you have sent her home?
Yeah. You're right. It comes down to the brief. If they wanted them to do something ambitious, then it should have been a fancy dress costume that is ambitious. They should have actually said it in the title, in the assessment criteria. Yeah,
Yeah.
to be judged
Oh,
against. Kit. Let's move Kit's up next in order. Kit wanted to be a singer. Oh, and Elton John, wasn't it? Yes, that's right. But again, we're looking at the 3.5 hours. I felt the fit was just slightly gone because he didn't have time really to put the stars on. They were coming off, weren't they, with the iron?
yeah, and I did think the fit wasn't there. He'd adapted the braces to for the stuff that they'd done the day before. Whether you think that's a bit of a creepy move because that's what they'd done the day before or not, but then in doing that, he potentially then made his braces too loose because the fit wasn't there. Given that the braces now had elastic in, I couldn't understand why they were so loose.
Yeah, this is where I'm confused with the time limit. It clearly affected them, and them all. I think they
And
were
you know,
all.
I'm not having a go at what he's done, but we've just had this big discussion just now about you have to submit what you're going to do in advance, blah 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 blah. So if he submitted in advance, why did they choose adaptive braces as the challenge when he had braces as his made to measure? Because to me, that's unfair. They should have either gone back to him and say, "Oh, that's not going to be appropriate for this week. Have you got something else?"
Yes,
Or they
yeah.
turn around and go, "Well, we're not doing adaptive braces because somebody's making braces in the last one as
Good
well."
point. Yeah, yeah.
How well produced is this show? And I'm not saying because obviously when they're planning the show, they don't know if Kit is going to be a good sewer. They don't know if Kit's going to make it to this week. And he's turned out to be a good sewer, and he has made it to this week. But when they've made them for the first challenge, and as a producer that somebody has chosen braces for the made to measure. Well, also for us as viewers, it's not. I don't care about those braces because I saw that he made a pair in the first one, which
Yes.
he came
Yeah.
first for.
Yeah.
But then
Yeah.
that's the annoying thing. He came first in that
Third.
challenge, and these braces
Yes.
didn't fit, and this was
Yeah.
made to measure.
And yeah, well, because the first round they had 4 hours, and this only 3.5.
Well,
Yeah.
this is it.
Yeah.
Again, he was given 4 hours to make a pair of braces that
Yeah.
won him something, and then 3.5 hours to make a pair of braces. Well, he couldn't get it to
Yeah.
fit.
Orla. Oh, look at that. Wanted to be a beekeeper.
Yeah.
Looks great.
Again, I love the sewing,
Yeah.
loved the idea, loved the concept, and it is a kid's outfit, so it hasn't got to be, a practical beekeeper's outfit. The
No.
look was there. It was exactly what the brief said. It was fancy dress.
Yeah. Fancy dress costume, but what you wanted to be when you were younger.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Stuart, who wanted to be a polar explorer.
Again,
3.5
fine.
hours for all that. That's a lot, isn't it?
Exactly. And we saw the problem with the mittens, which I think we'd have all done the same, which was just like, let's just draw around a hand and sew it and get it done. But, like they said, oh, you've twisted the fur. Well, again, you'd unpick it, wouldn't you? But but especially in this one, you had 3.5 hours. So, once you realise that fur's twisted, you've either got to suck it up and go, it's twisted, or you've got to say, oh, I'm going to unpick it. But then I might not have time to hem the trousers, or I might not have time to sew the flag on the front. How much are you penalising these sewers because they don't they have the choice of unpicking taken away from them because the time is so short?
And then you look at what Stuart's been creating over the series. Last week's ingenious shirt sleeve outfit top with the jacket bottom, the black and gold swooping dress with the lace in the middle, the amazing architecture that he's been creating over this series, and he's struggling at 3.5 hours with that. I just felt for these sewers. They were asked to do something so much at such little time.
I think you hit the nail on the head. Is that you can't have 4 hours to make those adaptive dungarees and then turn around and say a whole fancy dress outfit
Yeah.
has got to be done in 3.5 hours. And it's a made to measure outfit as well. So it's got to fit somebody. Whereas those adaptive things that you have 4 hours to do, okay, they had to fit the model that was there, but they weren't anything special. They weren't, cinched in or, there was nothing about the fit that allowed them to have 4 hours. But this, where they're supposed to fit, they give them 3.5 hours. Whether you're
Yeah.
sewing Gaynor's dancing outfit or
Yeah.
Stuart's Polar Explorer outfit, it doesn't matter how ambitious or difficult it is. 3.5 hours when you've done a previous challenge that was 4 hours for something a lot less is ridiculous, and that's when you get annoyed with the producers over things
indeed.
like this.
And I was throwing slippers all the way through the made to measure because I was just furious for those sewers because it was just not fair on them. They've had a stunning 5 weeks of making stunning makes because the producers have given them the right amount of time and better briefs, and we're seeing all of them really struggle to make something great, which should have been wonderful. Fancy dress costume, give them time to make something that's fancy dress. They clearly want something ambitious, don't they? The Patrick's gagging for it, isn't he? They want something, but give them the time to do that. And our last one, Yasmin.
Thought we were done. I forgot.
That was the last one.
I must admit,
I didn't. Politician.
I didn't get this. I don't know whether I just missed the explanation when they were doing the rounds. Because then, I say I didn't get it. As she walked down there, I went, "Well, she looks like a politician," and then that's obviously what they come out and said.
Yeah.
But I also then thought, well, if you were going to a kids' fancy dress party, which 9-year-old kid is going to go, "Oh yeah, that's Margaret Thatcher"? I've got 18-year-olds who wouldn't know who Margaret Thatcher is.
I suppose it's our idea. It's a fancy dress costume in the term of fancy dress in what you wanted to be when you were young. Nothing to do. It's just the kid is wearing it. That's all it is.
Well, it is, but it is for a kid's fancy dress. And
Yeah.
I actually felt quite bad for Yasmin if that's what she wanted to be at that age. It's like, shouldn't you be a spaceman or a ballerina or
cool,
something?
absolutely. You can be a politician or
God,
working. Absolutely, yeah. I thought that was refreshing to hear something different that wasn't a cowboy or a spaceman.
I'm not saying this is the case, but that's a basic jacket and dress make.
Yeah.
So, like we were saying, do you actually play the system and go, well, I know I can put together a jacket and a dress, and so we'll call it a politician, and bam, it's done.
Well, if she did that, high 10 to
Good
her.
on her.
Yeah, absolutely. Because at some point, if you're entering a competition, you're not really entering it because you just want to have a bit of fun. You are entering it. It's a competition. Competitions are there to win, aren't they? So you would try and work out, well, I could do this, I could do this. It's the only thing you're in control of, isn't it, the made to measure? So surely you would take ownership of that and go, well, I can make shirts. I'm going to shoehorn that in. I would definitely do that if I was going on the show. I'd be doing...
Because it takes you 2 days to make a shirt.
But that's all I can make. So that's... Everything would... So my... Mate, if I had this task, a fancy dress costume when I wanted to be young, do you know what mine would be?
What?
Mine would be, I want to be Michael Knight in Knight Rider, and I would wear a black shirt and a pair of jeans, and I'd have the shirt undone so I could make a shirt. There you are, I've done that one.
Okay, there you go.
What was last week's made to measure? Make, do, and mend. Oh yeah, there you go. It was World War II. Oh, it would be a shirt again, wouldn't it? Oh dear. But
well,
yes. Let's go. So we've got to the end of that, and I'm fuming, angry because we were starting to see. Okay, it's now looking like Dan is going to go home, isn't it? Because he was 6 out of 7th in the pattern challenge, a bit higher up in the transformation, but we saw how
the trouble was
his ringmaster was going.
The person who should have gone home based on the first two challenges was Kaz, but she came out and did a phenomenal
Yeah.
made to measure. And that is one of those ones we've talked about where you just have that turnaround and it absolutely saves you. Now, don't get me wrong, I would have been just as devastated to see Kaz go as well. But when she pulled that out of the bag,
We knew,
to
yes.
me, those were the two in the bottom purely from what had happened in the other rounds.
Yeah.
I didn't even have Gaynor on the radar
No.
because, as far as I was concerned, yes, it was a simple made to measure in that respect, but she had done that perfectly.
Yeah.
And it's a sewing competition.
Oh, I knew it was on the radar as soon as they started editing in, their little chats. It was a bit simple. It's a bit
They
simple.
said that, but at the same time, it's a sewing competition. And if she had sewn that poorly, then I would have probably felt a bit more that way. The fact that Kit's didn't fit very well, I mean, he'd won those other challenges, and I know he's done well in these other areas as well. But it is kind of like, well, his didn't fit. Kaz saved herself. Is there a possibility that he could have been in the bottom two? To me, Gaynor came out of nowhere. I was absolutely worried about Dan, but to me, Gaynor was a bit of a left field. Like we need to put someone in the bottom, so we're going to say her.
Well, I then started. My tummy was everywhere because obviously I didn't want Dan to go because we have there's so much about him that we have loved and we've talked about his personality, the way he interacts, the way he comes across on the TV. He just oozes kindness and warmth. There's just something about him.
You feel like you want to know Dan.
Absolutely.
You feel like you want to take him out for a drink and just sit there and talk all night. And you just talk rubbish and it would be absolutely fine.
And then, of course, I love Gaynors with her makes because we've talked about her using the stitches on the sewing machine. Yeah. She does brilliant stuff. And it's like, oh my God, could they be sending Gaynor home? Oh my! And then I was torn because it was that simple verse. Oh, you've been ambitious, and that's too simple. Are they going to send? Would they send Gaynor home? Oh my God! Then
So I know you've pushed me every week to say like who do you like and everything like that. Dan has been one of the ones in my heart.
Yeah.
And he is a good sewer. He's not been hanging on by the skin of his teeth every week. He is a good sewer. He did have a bad week.
Yes.
He is also the only sewer who brought a tear to my eye when they did all that last week.
So
I was genuinely just I was genuinely devastated over that. But I then earlier today when I knew you were wanting to do this later on, and I was kind of sat there and I was just like, if you're going to sit there and say Dan should never have gone home, Gaynor should also never have gone home because her sewing was flawless.
Yeah.
Kaz shouldn't have gone home because hers was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Even though she'd done poorly in the other two rounds. So that's those three gone straight away, saved straight away. Stuart shouldn't have gone home because, again, his sewing was good and he didn't struggle in the other challenges. Orla, her bee outfit was brilliant and she'd done really well. Yasmin, apart from the buttons on that jacket, again, brilliant sew. And Kit, okay, the braces didn't fit perfectly, but the overall thing. So then I was sat there going, so who would you send home?
Yeah.
If you can't say, if you're going to put you out there and go, well, Dan shouldn't have gone home. Well, who should? And I'm not saying Dan should have gone home because I don't think he should either. But it was just like, well, then who else do you pick?
But they did say Dan, and that's when it was like, I understand. I understand why he went home. I didn't want it, but I understood it. And I thought, okay, that is the right decision because, as you said, Gaynors. Yes, it was simple, but you can't. I think they had to go back to their assessment criteria and go, okay, yes, we can't send Gaynor home because it was simple because we didn't say you need to make something ambitious.
And like I said, it's a sewing competition. Yes. Her sewing was flawless.
Yeah. Dan went home. What then followed was an end sequence I have not had on Sewing Bee before at all, and credit to the producers, they had edited that beautifully. You could see Dan, after the group hug, Dan then wanted to talk to the bees. And water just started coming out of my eyes. But then it went to these dear little outtakes of the other bees, which was cute beyond belief, with Orla chucking whatever it was in the wrong angle,
B.
and then it's like, oh my god, this is like someone has died, an emotional thing. Then it went
Well, I
back to
think the other
then it
thing.
went back to Dan, and he started saying about how good they all are, and Kaz, and then he had to pause. He started
Well,
welling up over Kaz on how he
and
feels
then,
about Kaz, and then I then welled up even more.
but then he also turned around and said that he really wanted to do next week, which is the art week, and that he had some really good ideas. And I was just like, yes, because he doesn't do children, does he? He doesn't
Yeah,
sew for children. So this week was always going to be a nightmare. And he probably would have had these phenomenal ideas with the art theme
yeah,
stuff
yeah.
next week. So that was it. Yeah. Yeah.
How many of the people in the UK had tears in their eyes? I think many did. I mean, even if they weren't coming down your face, I think you would have still welled up.
Yeah. Yeah.
God, it was, and credit to the production team there. That edit and that end sequence was brilliant. But Dan just came over even more wonderful then. And, I mean, he was
But it
already
also
at the
just
top.
highlighted how difficult it is to judge that group of sowers
Yes. Yeah.
because, like I said, if you're going to dig your heels in and say Dan doesn't go home, well, who else goes
Yeah.
after that? And you look at the standard across the board. There isn't a weak sower there. Dan had a bad week, and we've seen that in the past where someone has a bad week. But everything he'd done, I mean, he won one of the
Yeah.
challenges,
Yeah. Yeah.
a couple of weeks
Yeah.
back. So it's not like he didn't deserve to be there, and he didn't deserve to carry on. But I think his personality I think he'd managed to just feel more relatable to the audience. And I'm not saying that the others don't, but he was very forthcoming and he wasn't frightened to talk to the judges. Esme said, I'm going to miss chatting with you and
Yeah.
everything. And I think he became an everyman because you'd like to think that's how
Yeah.
you'd
Yeah.
be if you were
He
there. And
he lifted
he
it.
just seemed relatable on that.
I think in those pressures, I bet he just lifted the mood in the background
Yeah.
with a little giggle or a
Yeah.
little joke or something. I bet the team gelled so much more because of him.
Yeah.
I'm sure, and I think this goes to show. Because, as you say, he had a bad week, but I don't think it's down to his sewing ability. It's down to
No.
Kids Week. It's down to the fact of giving silly little time and not detailed briefs. I think we've lost many a good sewer over
Oh, we
previous
have.
series
Yeah.
due to Kids Week because
But I think
it
I'm
it,
not
it
saying every
catches them all
series.
out.
Yeah, but I'm not saying every series before this one because it's not fair to do that sweeping statement. But in previous series, you've had perhaps what you'd say was not a good sower still get through, and a good one go home on
Yes,
something like
yeah,
Kids Week.
yeah,
I think what made it difficult this year is, like we've said, this bunch of sowers are all so good.
so good.
I think I could have been even more angry and upset if I felt that somebody had got through who shouldn't have gone through. And we've had that in previous
Yes,
years.
that is
And
true.
then they've gone home the next week. And you just think that wouldn't have
Yeah,
happened.
yeah,
If you'd have sent them home in Kids Week and that other person had gone through, you'd have
yeah.
probably had a phenomenal mate and so on. But yeah, I wanted to save Dan, but I equally sat there and was just like, who do you send
That's
home
it.
in
It
his
is right.
place?
Garment of the week was Kaz.
Absolutely correct.
Yeah, when you look at those makes of the made to measure, it was by far. Yeah, there was so many
Yeah.
facets to it. The idea behind it, the drawings that she able to give the kid to do during that part, it was very, very clever. But when you step back, as I say, to finish off, look at all what they made this week compared to everything they've made over the 5 weeks. It's just down here. Everything
Yeah.
else is way up
Yeah.
there, and that says a lot, doesn't it? Really?
Yeah. But there we go. There'll always be a kids' week. There'll always be a
Yeah,
reuse, recycle week. And to a
yeah.
certain degree, that's where you want to say, well, you just want to practice, for anyone in the future, you just want to practice as much as you can on those sort of things.
Yeah, and maybe fib about what you wanted to be when you were younger.
Should have just said a lifeguard and made shorts and t-shirts.
Yeah.
That would have been enough.
Or get those
Wouldn't have
producers
broken the brief.
to commit. Say, right, you've got to do two aspects. She's got to be a top and a bottom. Get those
Or
briefs.
give them 4 hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
Plus.
Well, next week, will we make it to next week? I'm an emotional wreck.
Well, it's Art Week, so there's a run of Inspired that could be seen again here, causing us issues.
Oh, it's been so good up to this point. I have been, well, in a way, it was still edited beautifully at the end. But yes, the producers have nailed it.
Just a little light has gone out
Yes.
this week after Dan's left. And I think that's just, I'm not going to stop watching. I'm not that stupid. But there's just that little bit has gone for next week.
Well, we look back at many comments because I asked for your midway comments. I think Dan was appearing in most of them. So people are now re-evaluating, re-looking at what they think might be your final 3. Well, we've got one more week, haven't we? Week 7 next week. And then after that, it's quarterfinal, semi-final and the final. It's whipped by at a pace. Good luck tomorrow, Ting. I know you're in tomorrow with GCSE results. Hope your students get everything they deserve, and then you get the results that your groups deserve. All the best.
Fingers crossed.
All right, and see you next week for Art Week. Cheers. Bye.
See ya. Bye.